Welcome everyone. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yesterday we have covered few functions, the basic functions and the syntax of R. We have covered that the some functions like sub and g sub, and we have covered paste zero, string split, substring, replication we have studied yesterday, and sequence also we have covered that function the for the arithmetic progression. And today we will start with the sample. So let me share my screen with you first. My screen is visible to you all.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, correct. Only two or three participants are active in this group, I think so. Other are in silent mode. Hmm? So okay, now you are active little bit. There must be some queries from your side. I am not getting the queries also. The doubts and the queries. And you must be active like this session. And here I will explain you about the sample function. Let me explain something in some different scripts so you could better understand. I remove this and this also, and I take new one script for you. And here we will study about the sample. Do you know what is sample mean? What does it mean? Sample. We
That
take the
indicate the whole population.
sample not
It's
indicate
represent.
represent the population. Yes, we take a sample from the population. And what is the basic characteristic of the sample? Yes. What is the basic characteristic of the sample? How do you select the sample from a population? Suppose we have 40 students in a class and you want to select only 10 students out of 40. Correct? Gemichu, you are correct, correct. It is the randomly. What is the pronunciation of your name? I am little bit confused about the pronunciation. Yeah,
Yes, yes, repeat once.
Your name pronunciation, I am
Gamacho, Gamacho.
Gemechu, correct. Okay.
Yeah, correct. You are correct.
Because we Indians are always a little bit confused in the pronunciation like these sort of words. Okay. So, Gemechu,
Yeah,
you are
I'm from Ethiopia.
okay. Nice. We have lots of participants. We had lots of participants from the Ethiopia in the last few batches. Lots of. So here you have right that it is the randomness is the very it is the characteristic of the sample. We select the sample from a population always randomly. Okay.
No,
Understand?
okay.
So suppose if I write 1 is to 10, and if I run this script, I will get 1 to 10. Are you getting on the console? Okay. And again, if I run this, what I get? The same I will get. Okay. If I write the sample and I write 1 is to 10 inside the sample and I run it, the sequence is different. It is covering all the numbers, but sequence are different. Next time if I run the sample, the sequence is now the different sequence I am getting. Next time I run the same, I am getting the different sequence. Does that make sense to everyone? Every time we will get the random. The sequence will not be same. Is it clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Suppose
Yes,
out
sir.
of this 10, I want to select only 7. So first time I am getting 5, 8, 10, 6, 1, 4, 3. Second time if I select, I will get some other numbers. Next time I will get some other. Got it? Out of that 10. And every number is different. Not any number is not repeated here. There is no replication of any number. Are you getting any repetition of any number?
No.
Each number is single time. If I
Sir,
want
what does
Yeah.
it mean by
if I want
common
the replacement, so repetition, if I want the replication or the repetition, so I will write the replacement. Replace equal to true. Then you see what will happen. You see some numbers are repeated.
Yeah.
Next time you will run it, you will get some other number will be repeated. It may be repeated or it may not be repeated. Okay, if you allow the repetition, replacement is equal to true. Okay, the numbers may be repeat or may not be repeat. But if you don't write replacement is equal to true, the number will not repeat. Got it? Understand?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I want to create a sample only from 2 A and B, and I want 100 times this. How many times? 100 times AB. So replacement is compulsory. How could I write? No, AB will repeat. It will replicate. So this is compulsory. If I have the
Yes.
only very few numbers out of which I have to
Hmm.
make a big sample. Okay, out of 2, I have to make the sample of 100. I have A and B only, and I want to make the sample of 100. So replacement is compulsory here.
Yes.
Got it? If I run this,
Okay.
got it?
Yes, sir.
I will give some name to this. I am giving the S to this. Okay, just so it will not run now. I will use the table. I will first run this S, and then I will use the table. Table is a function also, which will give you the how many times the frequency, it will give you the frequency, contingency table, which we say. Okay.
Hmm.
You will see I am getting the A 61 times and B 39 times. Got it?
Okay.
Next time if I run S
There,
and table S, I will see some different proportion is there now. Got it? Every time I will get some different. It will not be fixed. Got it?
Yes, sir.
We could set some, it is nearly 50-50%, mostly 50 to 60%, it will lie. Okay, the 60% one and the 40% other, in this way we could get, or the 50-50% distribution we will get if we don't mention any probability. Tasi, I could not understand what you want to ask. Yes, please unmute yourself and ask where you get confusion. Yes.
Yes, sir, I tried in my R.
Hmm.
The first one, sample 1 is to 10 replace equal to T.
Hmm.
So I got around like there's like 633, 10, 633, 542.
Okay, correct. That you will get always the different thing.
So no.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I could not understand like what is it, because I missed the because of the connection.
Okay, okay. If you don't
Yes,
write the
thank you.
replace, if you don't write the replace, okay, and you want this 7 times, suppose, okay, the 7 out of 10, you want only 7, and you will get the all different numbers. There is no repetition now. Is there any repetition of any number?
No.
No?
No.
So that is thing. If you want the replacement, a repetition of some number which may be repeated, so you have to write the replace is equal to true. Then you will get few numbers may be repeat over there or may not be. Here the 7 is repeating 2
7.
times.
Yes, sir.
Next time you run, the some
Yes.
other number will be repeating. Is it clear to know? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So here I am just telling you, we have the two quantity A and B. We want to make 100 times it. Okay. 100 sample size out of these two. So there is a requirement, the replacement is true is compulsory. Otherwise you could not make it. Or if I run this, if I show you this, so you will get in this way I am getting it. If I make a table of this, so I will get the 58 times A and the 42 times B. It is nearly 50-50% ratio or the 50-60% ratio I will get. Okay. Next time if I do it and I will see the table, it is the 50-50% ratio. So now if I want A only 20% of time, okay, and the B 80%, near about. So I will write the probe and I will write the probe in the vector format 0.2 for the 20%, and for the second one B I want 0.8. Does that make sense to everyone? If I run this, so you will see nearly 20% time we are getting
A.
A. The
The probe
proportion
is probability.
probability is just the probability. It will give us the approximate 20% A and the 80% B. Approximate, not the fix.
Okay, sir.
I again run this. You will see there would be some other 16 and 84. Approximate, not the exact. Okay. Got it? Every time you will get, but it will be nearly to that. It is not now the 50-50%. Got it?
Sir, these are the R software analysis statistical methods and commands where they are applicable in biomedical sciences.
Yes, yes.
Will you
So,
provide the seeds to sort out all these problems?
yeah, we will cover that thing in the inferential analysis, where we will study so many other biological data we will work with. Okay, whether to see whether there is significant difference is not, and that thing. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So different data has the different sort of analysis. So this you got. Is there any doubt?
No, sir.
No.
Now I will mention you one more thing.
Doctor, just tell me why do the same repetition or replace 1, 2, 3? For example, first time nearly the percentage is maybe equal. So 20% and 80%.
Yes.
First operation, the result may be very correct. Second time different. Third time more different, and so on. So my question is that why need to do this?
Sometimes we got we want to create one column. We want to manipulate the data, and we require some distribution of few things.
Yes, manipulating distribution.
We require some probabilistic distribution. So for that, the probabilistic distribution it's not the exact one always.
Exactly.
It may be near about it, approximate that distribution. So we could create in this way that distribution of these things.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Okay, thank you, doctor.
कि फाइल जो है वो सेक्रेटरी साहब ने साइन कर दिया और सेक्शन ऑफिसर को फॉरवर्ड हो गया है, ठीक है, कहते हैं हमारे सामने उन्होंने साइन कर दिया है, तो वो अभी सेक्शन ऑफिसर के पास चल.
Okay. So one more thing I will tell you. Please you mute yourself. It will be better if you have any query, just at that moment you unmute yourself and ask the question, because it creates some echo sound. So it makes some disturbance. Okay. So I would like to explain some more thing. I am making a sample from 1 to 10. Again, I want to select only 6 out of 10. And when I run this, I will get some sample here. And the next time I will get some different sample here. But I want every time the same sample. I want which I am selecting, taking the sample this moment. The next time when I run this, I will get the same sample. Got it? So for that purpose, we use some seed. Okay. So as per the seed, we get the different random. Every seed has a different random sequence. So I will set one seed. Set.seed is a function here. Or I could write from 1 to 9,99,999. Any number I could write in the seed. There are so many seeds. So you could select any seed, whatever you want. So I am selecting 1 to 1. This seed I am taking. And I just run this seed and then I run this sample. I am getting 4, 7, 10, 1, 3, 9. You could also practice this with this same seed in your system. You apply this, you see what you get over there. Next time when I run this seed and again I run the sample, I will get the same. Got it?
On what depending to choose a number of the set.seed?
You could use any number. You could choose any number. The next time when you run this, you will get the same. Why we do this? There is a reason for this. Because when we enter in the machine learning process, in the predictive analysis, and we divide the data in two parts, mostly. One for the training and second part for the testing. Okay. So near about 60, 70, 80% data we use for training the model, and the remaining data we use for test the model. Understand?
Yeah.
So we have a data set where we have got all the data, and we divide this data in two parts, or we want that in random way. It doesn't mean that the first 80% data you use for the training and the last 20% data you use for the testing. So your model may be biased. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes. So what we do, we set some seed. Through this seed, you have selected the data for the training today. The next day you will work on the same data. Then again you will use that, select that set seed and run that sample. You will get the same data. Is it clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, clear.
So in the further process, you will get always the same result. Otherwise, the today you are getting some other result because due to the data is not same. The next day you will get some other results. Does that make sense to everyone? Because in a data set, you have a various variables. Okay, and each variable has a different thing, and you have the various observations. So you are selecting the different observations each time. Okay, so some observations may be in the having some noisy data or some other sort of pattern. And then you are selected today, and the next day you see some other pattern in the some other variable have been selected in that. So you will get always the different result. Understand? So your further analysis may be affected. So this set seed is very, very important while partition the data. Understand?
Yeah.
This we see later on when we study about this machine learning process, the predictive modeling. Then I will explain how to partition the data in two parts. Okay. Sometimes we partition the data in three parts also. Okay. One is the training, second is the validation, and third is the testing. Okay. So first we divide the data in two parts, train and test. And in the training, then we again divide the data in two parts, training, and at training itself, one part we say the train and the second we say the validation. So how does it go? I will show you. We have a data. This data we divide in two parts. First, training and test data. And then in training, we again divide in two parts later on after doing some process, train and validation. Okay. So what we do, we train the model on this data. Then we try to validate that model on this data.
Sir, it may be same as calibration and validation.
Yeah. So here also we make one model with the validation data sometimes. And there is a different use of the validation data. First, you have trained the model with the data, and again, next time you are training the model with this data. And you see what features we are selecting in this. Suppose you have 10 features, A, B, C, D, E, F, like this. So this model had selected A, D, F, G. And this validation model, you have trained the model with the validation data, and it selected D, E, F, H. Understand? This feature, this validation model selected, and this feature, this training model selected. Because the both data are different. Na? So then we decide with which model we should go, which is more effective. So we test the data with this also and with this also. And then we see by which we should prepare the model first. One is that, but I don't like this process of making the model with the validation. I like the process. You train the model, you validate it and test this model, validate this model with this data. And then this unknown data, which is totally unknown 100%, you could apply here in this model. So there is a various technique the data scientists use, as per their choice. So that is depends on our choice, whether we are going to make a model with the validation data or we are just test it. Okay. So,
Sir, you mean that whenever we calibrate and validate our model, then we test the unknown data with the trained model?
Yes. We have trained the model with the trained data. And when we created the model, we put the test data. First, we put the validate data and we find out the accuracy of our model through that validate data.
Okay.
Understand? And that accuracy always being checked by the validation data, which is not known by the model. The data which is the data which is not known by the model. And in the test data, sometimes they send the test data later on, where they don't give you the target variable. Okay. So there you don't have any idea how we will find out the accuracy of the model, because you don't have the target variable by which you could compare your output. Understand?
Yes, sir.
So at that moment, so I say that we divide the data in two parts, training and validation. And the third part, if we have the data, the third part we put separate for testing our final testing result, where we don't have any target variable. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Generally, they provide data in two parts, training and testing. So testing, there is no target variable, but in training, there is target variables. We divide it in two part, training and validation. Understand? It depends on the data, in what format they are giving you. So that side seed you understand? Sample you understand now?
Yes, sir.
So let me go to some other function. That is the match and percent in percent. This is also very important. Matching. The match function returns a vector of the position of first occurrence of the vector 1 in vector 2. If the element of vector 1 does not exist in vector 2, NA is returned. So I will show you. I am making one vector KJ$1F. So I run it first. And you will see that we have three letters here. And one is a specific character and one is a number. And I am taking another variable, which is Y. And Y is I am taking the letters in the small alphabets. So if I show you the Y, so this is my Y, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Got it? Does that make sense to everyone? Now I want the matching X in Y. So K is matching in Y, J is matching in Y, dollar is matching or not. So I will show this. So it will give me response in this way. It will give me the position. So the K is matching at the 11th position in Y. So it is the position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th position.
11.
Is it clear?
Yes,
And the J is matching on the 10th position in Y. Dollar is not
Not
matching, not applicable. 1 is not matching, not applicable.
available.
And F is matching as at the 6th position in Y. Is it clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Similarly,
Yeah.
we could use for the Y on X. So the A is not matching anywhere in X, B is also not matching, C is not matching, D is not matching, E is not matching, but F is matching at the 5th place in X. Got it? Okay. So
Yes,
that
sir.
is the X and Y and X, you could do it. Now we have another operator, that is the percent in percent. Percent we have seen in our first script. Percent gives us the remainder. Okay. But percent in percent gives us the matching in the true and false, logical matching. So whether the first letter of X is matching in Y or not. If it is matching, it is true. It is not matching, it is false. Is it clear? So we get in this way. First is matching, second is matching, third is not matching because it is dollar, fourth is not matching because it is 1, fifth is matching. Does that make sense to everyone? Percent in percent, it is an infix function basically, and it gives us the logical response. Similarly, Y percent in percent X we could perform. So you could A in this way. Next, if you want the value, which value is matching. In the previous case, in the match function, we have seen we are getting the position. The element of X in which position in Y it is matching. We are only getting the position. In the second, in the percent in percent, if we are running, then we are getting the logical response only, true and false. But I want to know which value is matching. Whether the K is matching, F is matching. I want that value, K, F, and J. So what I will do, I will write this percent in a square bracket. And before that square bracket, I will write the first, it is called the suffix and the prefix element. So I will write the suffix element, prefix element here outside the bracket. And I will run it. So I will see the K, J, and F are matching. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
in another side, if there are more than F and J and K, so how it can match? How it will match to first set to another set?
Okay, you want to ask that. If I have more time, that I just do one thing. You want if I repeat some? Okay, you want this thing? This?
Yes, sir. In another subset, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. In that one.
No, just a moment. I first clear this thought that the K is 2 times here, and I run it, and if I run it, it is okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if I run this, got it? One thing is that now you ask what you want to ask. Please, what you were asking, now you tell me. Now if we see the Y percent in percent X and we put the Y outside and we see in this way, the F, J, and K. In the Y, the F will come first. If you see the Y, F will come first, then J, and then K. This sequence will be adopted by here. Okay? The sequence will be different. As per the first element would be the sequence. Does that make sense to everyone?
Okay, sir.
Okay. I will give you give some object name to this operation, and then I show you this. So it is the true and false basically. And when I convert this as dot numeric, I do it. So I will get the 1 and 0. The 1 for true and the 0 for false. So I could convert this binary and this logical response in true and false in the numeric one by using the s dot numeric, and I will get the 1 and 0 value. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes,
Because
sir.
sometimes we require, instead of true and false, we require 1 and 0 in the calculation. Okay. So we convert them in numeric in this way. Now we have another function which is which. So you saw there is a letters I am taking. There are 26 letters of English alphabet, and which is equal to K if I ask. So it will give me 11th letter is equal to K. It will give me the position, which will give me the position. Is it clear? If I write, I change these numbers basically. I take this number because the big number why I am taking, I will tell you later on this. I just run this. So this is my vector. And I ask which is equal to 52. X is equal to 52. And I just run this, not this one. I just run which function only. And you will see the second position is 52. If I say which is not equal to 52, so not equal to, we have to use the exclamation sign for not. Exclamation then equal. So it is not equal. So which is not equal to 52, it will give me 11. Now the first position, third position, fourth position, and fifth position. This position it will give me. So I will show you 1, 3rd, and 4th, and 5th. It will not give me the second position because it is 52. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes. If I run with this, the same process which I used here, the same process I am using here. So you will see I will get the number. 52 is equal to 52. And which is not equal to 52, the remaining then 52 will be shown here. 11, 85, 47, 69 is not equal to 52. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Now there is a next function that is order and sort and order. Both operates on vectors and has the same M, but the results are very different. Order function sorts a vector matrix or data frame. So here I am making one vector with the letters, first 10 letters of English alphabet. I am using 100 times them. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and replacement is 2 because the 10 letters only I am selecting, and so this I am getting. Okay. Now what I am doing, I will sort X. Use the sort function for this X variable, and I see what I get. Are you getting something? It has been arranged in the dictionary order. Okay. The A is whatever the A are there, we have written the first, and then
Yes,
B, then C.
Yes, sir.
If I run the order X, then see what happens. What happens here? It has selected the position. Fourth position, it will put first. Then 8th position, A here. Then we have 25th position. We are putting here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Order X will provide us the position only. If you want the value like the sort X, you could use this technique which I have explained you earlier. It will give just like a sort X. if you put this with order, okay, it will give me the value, because if you use the square bracket and before that you write the prefix, so you will get this thing. Okay. Few more things I will explain you about this. We know that I am making a vector like this and I will sort it. It is sorting the 2, 3, 4. If I order it, order will give me the position. These are the position. The third position is 2, 2 will come first, then the fourth position will come, then the first position 5 will come, then the sixth position 5th will come, then the second position 7 will come, then the ninth is on the fifth position will come. Got it? So these are the positions and these are the values. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, if you write these letters and you sort it, so it will be arranged in a dictionary manner. The pattern of the dictionary, you will get it. We could sort in a decreasing order also. So you just have to use the attribute decreasing equal to true. And this W, if I use the decreasing equal to true, I will get the largest number 1975532. So in the reverse order, I will get it. Not a reverse order, it's the decreasing way. Similarly, I could use for the Z also, that is like that, Y also, sorry. So this is the thing we have studied now. And there's a one function which is a reverse. Reverse is just flip the vector. So we have this vector. If I reverse it, I will get the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. It will not arrange, it will just flip the vector. Okay. If I write this and I will reverse it, I will reverse it A, U, S, W, and T. It will reverse it. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes. Table function I have explained you earlier. Okay. I have explained it to you. And now the length function I will take. We have this vector and I want to see how many elements are there. I could use the length function. Now this unique and the duplicated is a very important thing. Sometimes whenever we get data, in data we generally find 3 deficiencies in the data. What are these noisiness, or we could say the deficiency, or we could say the gangs in the data? So these are there may be some rows may be duplicated over there in the data. Okay. Duplicate data may be there. There may be missing values and there may be some outliers in the data. So here I am talking about the duplicate. So what I am doing, I am making 3 vectors. One is for the name, second for the age, and third for the religion. Third for the religion. The length of all vector is same, and I make a data frame, name, age, and religion. These all 3 vectors. So I will include in one data frame. If I'll show you the data frame, you will get in this way: name, age, and religion. Okay. Now what will happen? I want to see the unique in this data. If I run this, you will see the Manish 45 Hindu, Reshma 34 Muslim, Savita 23 Hindu, Manish 45 Hindu is a duplicate data. Got it? Or not?
Yes, sir.
There is another Manish, but his age is 23. But here the age of Manish is 45. So this Manish is not duplicate. Does that make sense to
Yes.
everyone?
Yes, sir.
So here you see we are taking this Manish, we are taking the Reshma, we are taking the Savita, we are not including this Manish here. Okay. Fourth index is not there. Then Kavita is there. Then again Reshma. So Reshma is not there. The sixth is also not there. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Then Siva is there and Manish is there. So we are removing the duplicate data in this way. We have removed the duplicate data.
Yes, sir.
And there is one thing which may be sometime useful or may not be useful for you. The indexing will be, there will be an indexing where is some gap. There is no indexing. We are not getting the new indexing here. Understand? We are getting the old indexing.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, then 4 is not there, 5 and 6. So we have another function that is a duplicated DF. So duplicated DF, it will show us the duplicate data only. Okay. So it is give me in the logical form. So in the logical form, if you see, first is not duplicated because it came first time. This Reshma is also came first time. It is false. It is not duplicated. Savita is also first time, so it is not duplicated. The Manish next time, here you see in this data. Na? Manish here you see it is duplicated. So it will say true. It already came here. So now it is duplicated. Got it? Does that make sense to first data frame, not the second?
Yes, sir.
We are applying this on the first data. Then the Kavita is not duplicated. So it is false. Reshma is duplicated. It is true. Then Simba is not duplicated and this Manish is also not duplicated. So we are getting the logical response. I am using this function also sometimes. The not duplicated. Not duplicated will respond me like a unique, which are not duplicated. Okay. I have used the exclamatory sign for the not duplicated DF, and the comma I am using, I want all the columns. Okay. And that the same function, the square bracket I am using. And if I show you this data frame now, you see this data frame is now, we have the same unique what we got in the unique, the same thing we are getting here. In the unique you have got it. You see this and this unique, there is no any variation. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
So either we could use this one or we could use the unique function. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
But the both are giving us the old indexing. It is not providing us the new index. Okay. So there is a library name is we have dplyr library which we use for the data manipulation. You have to first install this library in your system. So how to install the libraries in your system, I will explain you here. So we have the packages you are getting here on the screen, packages. You click on this. It will take little time. These are the libraries I have. The few libraries you have already in default. Okay, so it will mention you those libraries here. And you have to install the dplyr. So you click on the install and you will get one pop-up window. And here you write the package name, dplyr, dplyr. So this is the dplyr. Okay, don't uncheck it. It should be right here always. Okay, some dependencies always come with the library. Some associated libraries also come along with the that particular library which we are going to download. We are going to the package we are going to install. So that packages, the some associated packages is also being installed with the main package. So it always be checked. And just click on the install. It will take little time. It will take little time and it will be installed in your system. Okay. Because it is already in my system, I am not clicking on install. You try to install it and let me know what happened.
It displays a warning that RTools is required to build R packages but is not currently installed. Should I install RTools also?
What is the whole error or the warning you are getting over there?
RTools is required to build R packages but is not currently installed. Still, it's downloading the package.
Okay, it is downloading the package.
Yeah.
So you wait for some time. The net is already on. Na? Net should be on there.
Already downloaded.
Okay.
So it's not necessary to download RTools.
You have downloaded it now or not?
No, RTools I don't have it.
Okay. Someone has done it?
Yeah.
You have downloaded it? Downloaded.
Yeah.
Okay. So why you again try this? I think if you are not getting it.
The package is downloaded, but should I install RTools also?
No. You have downloaded it. Installed now. Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever you require this package, you just write down the library. You are getting here on the screen. Library, and in the bracket you write down that package name. So it will be imported in the environment now. And you could apply the functions of this library. Understand? This package. Okay. Got it? So we just run it. So it has been active now. And I will use this distinct function. There is a function distinct. And I run this. You will see. First I run that df again because I have changed that df with this here. So I will run is df and show you. This is my df. The Manish is repeating and the Resma is repeating here. These are the two duplicate entries. And now I run this distinct df and I will show you. You see the difference. Here you are getting the new index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Are you getting here new index?
Yes, sir.
So this I like this distinct function. I apply for remove the duplicacy from my data. And I save this with a new name, whatever you want, as we with the DF, or you could write some other data set name, whatever you want. You could save in that way. But you just have to write the new name. If you are writing it the DF itself, you could write, so it will be saved in the DF now. Okay. Or you could use some other name also here. Okay, DF1, DF2, MD, whatever. XYZ, whatever.
Function.
What?
So distinct function also remove the duplicacy.
Also remove the duplication, give the phrase new indexing also.
Okay.
In the unique, we were not getting the what I say, the phrase indexing. There is.
It shows only the duplicacy, and in this distinct, it removes the duplicacy.
And then both are doing the same thing. It is also giving us the non-duplicate data. Okay. This is also giving us the non-duplicate data. Okay. Remove the duplicacy from the data. But the thing is, the task is for this. I am talking about this index number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we are not getting the new indexing. We are getting the old indexing. The 4 is not here. And 6 is not here. Okay. Got
Yes,
it?
sir. Yes,
But
sir.
here we are getting the new indexing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The phrase indexing we are getting here. So that's that I want to tell you. Is there any doubt up to here?
No, sir.
Now we see the next one. This is my third and last script of the R foundation. Here I will explain you how to merge the two data frames, 2 or more data frames, how we could merge. Okay. So I am making first data frame with 10 observations. First variable is ID. Second variable is age. There are 2 variables in the data frame. And I will show you this data frame to get it. Are you getting this one? The second data frame I am again making. One column is the gender. Here I am using the sample, male and female 10 times. Replacement true. And the education I am using the repetition function and 5 times. And I will show you this. So we have these 2 data frames. In each data frame, there is a number of observations are same. Columns are not same. Columns are different. So which sort of bind you could apply here? C bind or R bind? Can you R bind it?
No.
Sir, C bind.
C bind. We will apply the C bind.
Because
because in the C bind, the number of observations should be same. So we are using the C bind, df1, df2, and I am giving a new name, df3. And I will show you this df3. So it is my new data frame. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Now I am making another data frame, which has only 5 observations, but 4 columns: ID, age, gender, and education. And I will show you. Now, columns are same.
Yeah.
Observations are different. So what sort of bind we could use here?
R bind.
Or R bind, correct. So we could apply the R bind, df3 and df4. And I will show you this. So this is my R bind. Okay.
Okay.
So in this way, you could bind the 2 data frames. If the observations are same, then you could do the C bind. If the columns are same, then you could use the R bind. And there are another thing. When we have the both data frame has a different dimension. The number of column is not matching with the number, and the columns are not same in the both the data frame. The rows are not, number of rows are not same in the both data frame. Then you could not apply the R bind in the C bind. Then we will use some other techniques by which we could join it. So we could join we could join with DF data frame 1 I am making. There I am taking one customer ID column 1 to 6, and the product is there, toaster 3 times and the radio 3 times. And there is another data frame I am making, the customer ID and the CT. And I will show you both the data frame first in the console so you could better understand it, and then we will work on it. So here you see we have the first data frame where the first column is customer ID, second is the product. In the second data frame, we have the first column customer ID and the second is the product. The both have a different column, both have not the same column name. And there is a different column, and the number of observations is not same. So we could not apply the same R bind or the C bind here. Here we must have one common column in both the data frame. So that is the customer ID, that is called a key column. So through this customer ID, we could join it. Or we could join in a different way. You know that here the customer ID 3 and 4 is here, and 3 and 4 is here also. It is the intersection. It is in the both data frame. So if I want the only those entries which are in the both data frame, I want to join, then I will use the inner join. I will use the inner join function, inner underscore join. This is my function. And I will just write the df1 and df2. And by which key column name we have to write. The key column name is by is equal to customer ID. And you could give any name here. I have written the inner. You could give the X, Y, Z, whatever you want the object name. I run it. Sorry. I run it. And I will show you this. Are you getting it? Inner join is the intersection. Okay. The IDs which are common in both the data frame. It will give me those IDs with the columns of both data frame. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay.
Okay.
Second thing, if I write the left join. So I will show you this left join. So I will get the IDs of the first data frame 1 to 6, column of both data frame, and wherever it is not matching, it will give me the NA. Wherever it is matching, it will give me the name of the city. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
All observations of the first data frame, that is the left join. There is the right join. It will give me the all observation of the second data frame and give the column for both data frame. Look at this. In the second data frame, we have 3, 4, 7, 8 only. Got it? And it is giving me this way. Okay. Now we have the full join. It will join both the data frame totally. And if I show you this, so you will get this.
Please repeat once on the right join.
Right join, we will get the IDs of the second data frame, all IDs 3, 4, 7, 8 is in the second data frame. You see here. Getting it? And the column of both the data frame you will get always. The product and the city, which is not the product not in the 7 and 8 because it is only in the second data frame. Okay. So it will give me the NA. Does it make sense to everyone?
Okay.
The full join will join the all values. Then we have the semi join also. So I will do the semi join. Semi join is also give us the intersection, but it will give the column of the first data frame only. It will not give me the column of the second data frame, which is the CT. It is just like an inner join. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Anti will not give me, anti is also the same thing, but it will give me the observation which are not common in the both data frame, but give me the column of the first data frame only, which are not common. Except 3 and 4, it will give me 1, 2, 5, 6. Got it? Okay. This is the semi and anti. Any doubt? No?
No, sir.
Okay. So this we have finished our basic syntax with R. And the next topic, what we are going to take, just wait, I will just see the tomorrow's my other session timing, then I could decide whether which time we will take the class or we able to take tomorrow or not. I just see that. Tomorrow we have 5:30 to 7. (5:30 to 7 p.m.) Okay. So tomorrow I have a session with 5:30 to 7. And okay. So tomorrow our session would be start at 7:15. Okay?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Because I have a session with the upgrade. So I have to take session over there. So I would not be available between 5 to 7.
Okay,
We will
sir.
start at 7:15. And we continue our session today. We'll cover some more thing of the next topic. And the next topic theory I have already explained you. Okay. That is the mean measure of central tendency theory concept I have explained you. I have explained you the measure of dispersion also, and I have explained you the little bit about the correlation. So the next topic is the univariate analysis. We will start here today, and there is no need to show the PPT because everything theoretical concept I have explained you. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
I just start the new one. Take that univariate analysis. First, I would like to explain you how to read the files in R. Okay. That is the input and output. Input output means here how to read the file, input the file in our environment here, and output means how to save the file in our system. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. I remove this all. And first I will show you how to read the file. Okay. So if you have the file in the same project, suppose we have a file like CSV format file, MGP, mpg data.csv or the describe.csv I have here. I want to read this file. So first of all, you have to see where your working directory. What is your working directory? So for getting it, so you have a get working directory function. Put it blank and just run it. You will get the path of working directory where actually it present your working directory. What is your working directory? So it is the working directory is in the same folder. Whatever you have the project, in default, the working directory would be that project. You could change the working directory if you want. Now you could change the path. And if your file is here, you want to read, like the describe, I want to read. So it is a CSV format file. We could read any format file here. I will explain you one by one. So the CSV format file we could read in default in most of the programming languages. So I am giving some object name first. Then I will write the read.csv. And then if it is in the same working directory, I will just use the quotes, single or double, whatever. Then write that describe, the name of the file, and extension also, .csv. Don't forget to write down the extension. That is very compulsory. If you don't it right, it will not open. And then you will be confused why it is not opening. If I run this, you see here in my global environment, there is a file which is having 11 observations and 14 variables. If I want to view this file, I just click here somewhere. I will get this. Got it? Does that make sense to everyone? How to read the file? We just see how to read the file. Okay?
Sir.
Okay, just clear.
So next thing what I want to explain you, I want to change my working directory. I have opened this project, but I don't want to use the file from this project. I want to use the file from some other place where I have kept all the files. So I have two options. One, either I could change my working directory or I could use a function file choose. Most preferably we use the function file choose, but I would like to explain you how to change the working directory also. Okay. We don't use that in practice, but we should know about it. So I will write down the function set working directory. And one option is that I will just click on the folder and I will go to that folder where my files are kept. And I will go there. Here are the files. And this option I have that I will just on the URL you see in the address bar you see, and you just right click here and you will get this pop-up window and copy address as text. Copy this, not this one, this one. just copy it and come back to R and put the codes, and inside this code you just paste it. Now one thing remains here. Here you see all the there are the backward slashes. We have to convert these all backward slashes in forward slashes because it is in Windows only. You know, if you have the Mac or the Linux, you will get the forward slash. Okay. So in Windows, if you have to convert every backward slash in forward slash. Does that make sense to everyone? And I run it. And now I show you my working directory. So I have to follow the function get working directory. I run it. You see, previously my working directory was this. Now my working directory is this. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Now I could select any file from that folder. Okay. So I will see, I want to use one file, comma separated file. I want a file census underscore income from here. So you read the name carefully, the spelling carefully, census underscore income. So I will again writing df new name. It is the CSV file and under quotes census underscore income, and extension is compulsory CSV, and I run it. I've got it here. In the global environment, you see there are 32,561 observation and 15 variables. I will show you. These are my file. Got it? Okay. So it is the CSV file we could read in this way. We have another way. If you don't want to change the working directory and you want to read the file from some other location, and then what you will do, file.choose function you will use here in the read.csv and keep it blank. Just run it. You will get one pop-up window. Sometimes it does not open in the screen, seen on the screen. It is on the taskbar. You see here. You just click here. You will get this pop-up window. And wherever your file you got that. Suppose I use one file. I will use the one file with the loans data. Okay, we have some other also. I want to use some different file that you could better understand the thing. Bankful file, I use it. Bankful, correct. I use this one. In the Bankful file, when I read with the name date, you see there is the 45,211 variables, observations, and one variable. It is showing me the one variable only. Oh, it is not opening properly. So basically it is a comma separated file, but instead of comma, the separation is done through this semicolon. Got it? Got it? I will show you. We could not see it. I will show you. Just a moment. I will show you with the structure of date, str, right, and dat. And you see the structure. Now you see the this is by the semicolon instead of comma. That the semicolons you are getting here. Okay. So at that moment, you have to open it properly. What you will do, you will again read this file. You will use the comma. Either it is you are reading through this, or if you are reading through this, you also write here the comma. Okay. And after comma, you will write the separator, SEP. And the separator is what here? A separator is here, semicolon. So semicolon I will write here. By this I want to separate the variables. And I will again run it. You see there is one variable. Now I again run this. You will see there are, I have to go again there. And there are 17 variables. You see. Got it? Okay.
Okay.
Because sometimes you get this sort of format of file from your client, and that could not open in your R, because the separator is, they have used the different separator like the semicolon or the hyphen or some other thing instead of comma. So then you have to just judge it which separator they have used, and then you mention in the separator that separator, and it will be read very easily. Is it clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's clear.
Now I will go to my old working directory. So that is the different way I will show you. That is in the D. And I just you will use some, just a moment. Course is not written by me, so it's not giving me that. You just click the control and space button after writing the directory name with the forward slash, and then you select it is in the Cipher Analytica, and then again I will use the control shift as control space, and then it is where it is the data science with R, then control space, and it is the univariate, write the univariate. Does that make sense to everyone? And I run it. If I see the working directory, what is my working directory now? I will get this is my working directory, which is here. Got it? Yes. Any doubt?
On what depending to change the working directory?
Yeah, we could change. There is no need to change. You use the file choose function. If you have to use the file from some other folder you have kept in your system, so it is better, I think, that you don't change the working directory with whatever the project, it should be same. Okay, don't change the working directory again. Okay, you select through this method. Is it easy way to select the file from some other folder? Okay. If you have to open your script, you could open the script from here itself. You just click this, you will get the script of the, open the script, just clicking, you will get the .r extension is the script name extension of the R. So that is the, we could easier. Okay. So this I have explained you only about the file which are in the CSV format, but we have some files which are in some other format. First, we see how to write the file in our system. Okay. in our system, how we write the file. Suppose we have one file, like this file I want to write, MD file I want to write. This is in my environment. I write this file with some name, and I will use the function write.csv. And then I will write the object name here. What is it? Is the MD here, which I want to save. And by which name you want to save, you will write in the quotes. I want to save this file with a name XYZ is already there, but I will give some other name. I will give the cipher
ABC.
Cipher 20. And extension is compulsory to write. Whether you read the file or you write the file. So CSV is the extension. Understand? This is very compulsory. If you don't write the extension, the file will not save. And I run it. You will see here in the down of this files, there is a cipher 20.csv. Got it? Okay. I will open this file from my folder. This is that file 27/11/2026 p.m. This is that file. Got it? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
How to write the file in a CSV format? Okay. This CSV file always open in a Excel. Now we see just a moment. Now we want to read the Excel file. So how to read the Excel file? I will remove this all here from the environment. I will again use the MD. And for reading the Excel file, you have to run a library and install a library, which I will mention you. And that library is read Excel. I run this. And then I read Excel. And I should have the idea which file is it. XLS, XLSX, and the Excel. So I will select this. I see whether you're that file or not, like Excel. And if I don't get, I will go to some place and I will select it from there. There is no Excel file. So I will use the file.choose function. And I will run it. So I will get some Excel file here. This is the comma separated all. And I will see it. Just a moment. The comma separated, the Excel sheet. So this file I am taking. You see there are 15 observation file variables. I am showing you this. But in Excel, if you don't write the sheet index, then you will get the first sheet. Is it clear? So I will show you that Excel file here. I open that file and I will show you that. That is the Excel file. This one. I will open it. You see, it is showing me this. You see in the first sheet. If I want to see the second sheet or the third sheet, I want to see this third sheet. Day warm up, running, setup, cool down, exercise. So what I have to do, I have to write down here. Sheet equal to 3. And first I remove it. And I will run it now. And I will go to that here in data, because and I select that file exercise, which is here, and run it. So is it 365 observation and 6 variables? So I am getting the third sheet. Does it make sense to everyone? Is it clear to all? How to read the Excel file? Okay.
Yes, sir.
But I feel myself the better way to read the file in R, convert your Excel file in CSV format. So it's very easy to convert the Excel format. If you want to convert this sheet only in the CSV format, you will get only one sheet. In the Excel, you will get in default 3 sheets, and then you could increase the sheets or whatever. So this is a very simple way. I just show you how we could. You go on the Save As, and you click on the Save As, and you select the file. Okay. And you click on here, Save As type, and there is a CSV comma delimited. There are various CSV format. CSV comma delimited, CSV comma Mac, and MS-DOS. So you have to use the comma delimiter to always select this one. Okay. And you save it. So it will be saved in the CSV format, that particular sheet of your Excel. And then you could call as a CSV. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Because in this situation, you will not make any sort of mistake while selecting the sheet. Or sometimes you don't have the requirement to run any library for reading the file, because the CSV file is directly can be read in the R. Okay. We could read the different format of files also, but I will not cover in this workshop. That is in the second workshop R2, where we will read, we will see the SAS file and the SPSS file, and the other format file we could read. So I hope the session today was taken is fruitful for you,
Yes, sir.
will be useful in your future analysis and everywhere. Okay.
Doctor, thank you very much.
Thank you. And tomorrow we will meet at 7:15. I remind you again. Okay. And the 7:15 we start it, and we finish the descriptive analysis, univariate analysis there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
If someone have some issue, some query regarding anything.
Sir, please. Sir, how many sessions are there? Like you have, I have attended R1 and R2, but I have not registered R3 advanced one. To cover our whole as a whole, how many workshops you will offer till then?
There are up to R4 only. R1, R2, R3 and R4. It is, we are just covering the machine learning. We are not covering the deep learning here. Deep learning sessions are, we are not providing in this way. That is a separate session. There is some other, there's the base, the charges are different there. That is the complete session is for the 2 months and the 3 months session.
Sir, whenever you will offer this, actually I am from Pakistan, so physically I am not able to come here and attend. So that's why I'm asking that to cover whole hour. So what is
that session we run, and I will inform you when we are going to start it. Okay.
Sir.
No,
Sir, R3 advanced 1, 2, 1, 3 are different or simple? R3 advanced 1 is a one session and R4 is the fourth one.
R3 we are going to start in the next week. I think you will see I think get the mail today or maybe tomorrow about the R3. We will start from the next week. It may be from the Monday or maybe some other day, but will be start the next week. R3.
Please let me inform about the whole.
Okay. R2, have you attended the R2 of Sam?
Sir, I have attended, but actually I was busy in my interviews and tests, so I have missed 2-3 days. I have received the certificates and material as well, but I want to improve as I am interested in learning for bias correction as well in my thesis. So that's why I'm asking that whenever you offer the whole R1 R course, then I'll be there with you.
Okay.
So you will be sending yesterday's recording and today's recording today?
Yeah, I will send it today. Yesterday,
okay, please inform me.
Yes.
Inform us on the R2, R3, and R4 when you are starting.
R2 and R3 we are going to start next week. Next week we are going to start the 2 batches, one for R2 and one for R3. And you will get the information today, or maybe tomorrow you will get one mail from Cypher Analytica, where you will get the details how to register and fill the form. Okay.
Okay, we will wait you.
Okay. As someone has some other query?
Sir, one thing more, please arrange the time in such a way that after 9 to 5, mostly the job working hours are 9 to 5, and it's hard to open the setup and get a class.
The advanced session always run from 7 to 9. Don't worry. It is not at the 5 to 7. It is always 7 to 9. It would be better for you 7 to 9.
Yes, sir. This is better.
Are you comfortable?
Mostly they are working or 9 to 5.
Okay. So the advanced session is always the R2, and most of the sessions we run at the 7 to 9. And the advanced session we always run from 7 to 9.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyone else?
The missing values missing values computation will do tomorrow.
We will do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir, for your time.
Okay. Thank you.